Hello, I am Megan Lord and welcome to season 1 of the Wedding Rooms on Air. This is a podcast that myself and Adam, the producer, have brought to you as a library and wealth of information for people who are planning their own weddings. We want to bring together creatives every week who are breathing life into the wedding industry. So follow along with us on your planning journey. Like and subscribe, and you can also purchase our ultimate planning download that takes all of the stress out of planning your own wedding. We really hope you enjoy the next episode. Hello and welcome to the Wedding Rooms on Air, the podcast that helps excited couples through their journey and gives an invaluable look behind the scenes with wedding suppliers. Today I am joined by the lovely Iona from Full Circle Celebrations. Hello my love. I've just realised I forgot to make us a cup of tea.
I didn't want to say anything. I know.
I'm very sorry.
It's all right. First hurdle.
I know. I apologise now. It will be a bit of a awkward break if I just get the kettle. So we're just going to have to power through. So tell us all about you and how you got into weddings.
So I'm an independent celebrant. I'm based in Northamptonshire, and I decided to train to become a celebrant a few years ago when I closed down a business. So I had a tea room that I ran, and after my second child, I went back when he was sort of 2 weeks old, just strapped to my chest and powered through. And a couple of months in, I thought, this isn't worth.
This isn't the one.
So I wanted to pivot, but I wanted a job that still gave me everything that I loved about running the tea rooms, which was the people, the interaction, celebrating with people. And I'd gone to a friend's mum's funeral, and the celebrant spoke like she'd known her whole life, and it was so beautiful, and she did such an incredible job of creating a story of this lady's life. And
What an honour, really, isn't it? Telling someone's last story.
Yeah, such a privilege. And I thought, I'd really love to do that. So I trained with the Academy of Modern Celebrants, which took about 9-10 months.
What does it entail when you say train? Like, what did you do?
So it was all online. But you had assessments along the way. So you had a supervisor attached to you in a similar way that you do if you do a sort of open university course.
Yeah.
And you had to do assignments along the way. So you learn about different religions, different cultures, how to incorporate those into ceremonies. And you have to do a sort of a practice ceremony.
Oh, okay.
You have to set up, gather family,
an oral exam,
together.
basically.
Yeah, you gather family and friends together, and you do a mock wedding with the ceremony you've written. You record that. You send it off to your supervisor, and you get feedback on all of that. And then you have another couple of attempts. So by the time you're sort of officially qualified, you've already got a good amount of experience in writing scripts, in delivering ceremonies, so that you can sort of feel confident going out.
That's really good to hear, because even though someone's trained, you don't want to be the first, do you? You don't want to be the first bride and groom. It's yeah. Whereas actually, that's nice to know that even if someone's newly qualified, they have actually done a series of ceremonies before they're coming to you.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing is, celebrant industry isn't regulated.
Oh, okay.
So you don't actually need to have training. You could just decide to go and become a wedding celebrant without any of that training.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So that's almost something that our listeners can it's if they don't have on their website that they have that training. I'm not necessarily saying that that's wrong if it's not regulated, but that's certainly something that I would look out for.
Definitely. I would say it's certainly something to look out for, because within the training, you do learn a lot of things. You learn about sort of timings of things. You learn about what is good to include. You learn about different elements to include in ceremonies to respect different cultures. And you could be the best public speaker in the world, and a lot of people are brilliant at public speaking, and that's what sort of tends to make them think they might want to be a celebrant.
Yeah.
But having that background knowledge and that learning is really important, in how to structure a ceremony and sort of the key do's and don'ts.
Because I think that's one of the key goals of the podcast is no matter what your budget is or how you're structuring your budget or what supplies are most important to you, we want to give them tips of how to spot who they should pick. And that will be different for everyone, but just key little bits of information like that. I wanted to talk a little bit because obviously we know that a celebrant will be doing your service, but I think there's still a little bit of a thought out there that you only have a celebrant if you're getting married somewhere that is not registered for weddings, not licensed, for weddings. And I think that's what's starting to change now, isn't it? You know, I got married myself 10 years ago, and I had a humanist celebrant, because I think 10 years ago, the movement of celebrants wasn't so much there, because we were getting married in some gardens. So that I went straight to it because I had a reason to go straight to it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't registered for ceremonies. So is there more to it than that? Like, I think now a lot of people are using celebrants because they want to, not because they feel they have to.
And I think that's completely true. Traditionally, it was very much that you would have a celebrant if you wanted to get married. Say you had beautiful gardens in your home, and you wanted to get married there. However, so many of the ceremonies I take are in licensed venues, and they're people who've made a proactive choice to have a celebrant and to have an independent celebrant as well.
Why do you think they'd made that choice?
So I think it offers complete freedom, complete flexibility. The thing I always say to couples is, when you have an independent celebrant, you can completely throw the rule book out the window.
Yeah.
You don't have to conform to a certain structure, to not having elements included that you might want to, or to having elements included that you might not want to.
Yeah.
So we can include religious elements. So if you've got a couple who they might not be particularly religious themselves, they don't have a particular affiliation, but they have a parent or a grandparent or someone important in their life who does have a strong religious belief, and they want to respect that and they want to acknowledge that, we can include that in the ceremony. I took a wedding the other day. It was quite an interesting one, actually, because it was a hybrid one.
Okay.
So we had a joint registrar and celebrant-led ceremony.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is quite unique.
Why do you think they made that? Well, why would they make the choice to have both?
So they wanted to have the legal aspect at the same time as their wedding ceremony.
Okay.
So at the moment, independent celebrants can't legalise a marriage.
And is that something that's going to change in the future, do you think?
It's something that's being discussed in Parliament at the moment. So there is a huge move to try and make it so that celebrants, whether that's humanist, independent, can legalise marriages.
Yeah.
I think it's probably still a little way off.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of things that will need refining. But it's definitely something that could be coming in the next few years.
To take you back a moment to the point you just made, that actually personally really resonates with me, because I had a humanist ceremony, and that very much sort of speaks to me and my beliefs a bit more. I'd say I'm quite sort of spiritual, or, I just believe in being a good human. But my mother-in-law is Christian and quite religious. And I was really touched by how open and sort of caring she was to the fact that I wanted to get married in a garden and I wanted everything to be a bit more relaxed, and maybe made a lot of decisions with my wedding that possibly she wouldn't. And she was so wonderful with it and so warm. So I wanted to put something in, and also a very dear friend who was doing a reading, who was also Catholic. I wanted to put something in that wasn't like super religious, but had that tone of respect. And that was very difficult for my celebrant to do, because it comes out of the bounds of the belief of a humanist celebrant, which I totally respected and understood. And she was very good, and we found one that we both felt okay with. But I guess that's the beauty of being an independent celebrant, is those boundaries of belief aren't there, whether it's in church, in humanist, and even as a registrar, they're legally bound by certain things, aren't they? What they can and can't have in the ceremony. So it does kind of break the box, you know.
It does.
The mold.
It does. And I think some couples find it quite hard. They might think that they have to have a registrar lead a ceremony because the venue is licensed, and maybe the venue have said, you know, you need to book the registrar when you book the venue. But that doesn't mean you have to have a registrar there and then on the day. Equally, it doesn't mean that you can't have a celebrant as well. So this ceremony that I led, joint with the registrars, worked beautifully. It was fantastic. We were so lucky with the registrars that they were really open and supportive of celebrant-led ceremonies. And so the couple entered in, the registrar led the first bit of the service, completed the legal aspects, and as they were signing the paperwork, she then handed over to me. And then we had a really personalised service.
Yeah.
So we had some readings that had religious connotations in that were really important to the bride. And we also had, the groom was Jewish, so we did breaking of the glass, which is a really beautiful Jewish tradition, looking at kind of breaking down the walls, breaking down the barriers, and entering into this new life. And so for them, they had everything they wanted.
Well, as you described it to me, it makes perfect sense. Like, I've never thought of having a registrar and a celebrant at the same time. And I guess for a lot of people planning the wedding, they might think, well, I'm just paying for the same thing twice. But when you describe it like that, you're not, are you? What you're doing is you're having it all in one. And actually, it does make sense to put more budget into your ceremony, because that's why we're here. Like that's the reason for the day. Because that is a really interesting note. Again, not to make it all about me, but just because it's relevant, going back to my wedding, I was very adamant, because I know a lot of people who have celebrant weddings, they tend to have a sort of smaller registrar wedding first or legalise it. Now, that for me felt very uncomfortable. It didn't sit with me, because I was like, but that's my wedding. And I didn't want to be married when I had my wedding.
Yeah.
So we did the celebrant wedding. That was the wedding. And then we just did a two and two little service, which is basically just going to a registry office, you two witnesses, and you just sit in an office and sign the papers. And that's very low cost. I think it's about £45 or something.
I think it's about 60 now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's a few years ago. And we just went in jeans with our mums and had a pie afterwards. So, but that for me then felt like that was my wedding. And then I just signed some papers to legalise it. But actually what you just described would have made more sense for me, that it was all happening at the same time.
It is. I mean, it is definitely a more expensive option, because you're paying the registrar to come to the venue. So that's adding on a good few £100. In some cases, you're adding on around £800, £900
Oh, right.
registrar at the venue.
So it is much more cost effective to go and, like I described, and just go and legalise.
And a lot of people think of it this way. So when you have a baby, you have the day that you give birth, you have the day you have the babies, and that's the day you celebrate. You celebrate their birthday every year, and that's the day they were born. And then you have the day that you register their birth.
Yeah, and you do just go to an office with a piece of paper, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah. And it can be, you know, it depends on the couple very much. Some couples really love that low-key element that they sort of, whether it's before, whether it's after, they go and they just go, the two of them, two witnesses. Some will go and grab a McDonald's, some will go for a nice meal. Whereas some of them will still do it as a 2x2, but go and make a real day of it. So have a nice outfit, you know, whether it's a white suit or whatever. But the point is that it is completely the couple's choice.
Yes.
What they do.
That's it. And break it down. I photographed a wedding a couple of years ago, really lovely couple. And they wanted to have, when they actually got married, just them, no one else.
Yeah.
To the point that me and the other photographer were the witnesses. So that it was totally personal. And then they had the big wedding day. So it's just like, go through it in your head yourself. What makes sense to you? What do you want in that ceremony? Because it always comes back to you do you. You've got to make your wedding day all about you. And if that means it's about you, but a little bit about mum, or a little bit about this, or these little elements, pull it together how you want it to be, you know.
Yeah.
Get married at the top of a, you know, lighthouse if you want to. Like, do whatever you want.
You know, that's the thing about a ceremony is you can. If you want to get married at the top of a lighthouse, you absolutely can. If you want to get married, you know, I'm a keen canoeist, so I will paddle out to the middle of a loch and marry you if you want. It is completely how you want, in your way, and we don't have any restrictions in place at all. We're not, you know, we don't have times. So a couple could have a 15-minute ceremony with me, or they could have an hour and a half long ceremony with me. That's absolutely fine. What matters to me is that they have a ceremony that resonates with them, that's important to them, and they can look back on really fondly and saying, yeah, we did exactly what we wanted to do, and we loved it, and it was about our love.
I am looking to you, our followers, to help us. We are set out on a very exciting new project, and we need your help to find a very deserving couple. The Wedding Rooms podcast has always been about trying to help couples, help them plan their weddings, and this is a massive extension of that. We have managed to find and give away an entire wedding day. I'm talking venue, DJ, videographer, photographer, details, catering, and so much more. This is all being given, and we want to give it to someone who is truly deserving. So we are looking for your nominations. We want to hear about people who really deserve this break, and it could be about work that they're doing in the community. It could be about someone who has had a really tough time in life, and now this is something that they just deserve to be given. The most key thing and factor is that it needs to be a secret nomination. We do not want hundreds of people out there who are very deserving disappointed because they didn't win. So we are looking for you to secretly nominate friends, family, colleagues, people in your life that would benefit from this massive, massive, massive gift. Send your nominations to megan@theweddingrooms.uk. All you need to include is your name, the person you're nominating, why you're nominating them, and a way for us to get in touch with you, and we will get back in touch. If you don't know anyone that you wish to nominate, please share this podcast. Let's spread this around. Let's find someone and make a magical, magical dream come true for them.
So if there's no restrictions, do you have any do's and don'ts?
Sure.
I think,
Like advice for couples who are...
yeah, I think the most important thing is to remember that this is your wedding day, and it is really important to respect the people who are important to you and their wishes and their beliefs. But most importantly, it's about you two.
Yeah.
And you've got to celebrate that. I always
Don't get lost in the family politics.
No.
Yeah.
And I always say to couples, you know, you have this one day where you have complete free reign to be soppy, to celebrate each other, to talk about your love story. How often do we talk to people about all of the things we love about our partner, or the time we met and how we felt, and, you know, was it a bit of a slow burn, or did we go head over heels straight away? So often those things are glazed over in friendships and life because you kind of think it's a bit self-indulgent. And this is the one day that you can go, I just have complete free reign to talk about how much I love this person and all of the amazing things about them. Maybe some of the things you might alter about them, you know, whether they're not very good at stacking the dishwasher. That was one thing that came up in a wedding the other day, was the couple exchanged vows and then also exchanged agreements to improve on certain elements, such as stacking the dishwasher and keeping the house tidy.
And this kind of really personally designed ceremony, I guess that's when you need a celebrant, because you're not going to be able to design it all about you, purely because a lot of the other ways to get married, they are bound by the sort of foundations, beliefs, structure of the wedding ceremonies that they're performing. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, it's all just choices, isn't it? Because I guess if you are very religious yourself, then absolutely you need to have a church-led wedding, because that's your belief and what means something to you. And same with humanists, same with, you know. So I guess you're just at the altar of anything.
Yeah.
And everything.
And I think the other thing that I really love is that I have a relationship with all my couples before the wedding day. So, you know, with a registrar, they get allocated and you meet them just before the ceremony. You won't know who they are coming in. And again, you know...
So do they not have any time to plan the ceremony sort of thing?
Not with a standard registrar-led service.
Yeah.
The councils are trying to introduce some celebrant-esque services,
Okay.
but it's not... They're not at the point of an independent celebrant. You still don't necessarily know who you're going to have on the day, and there are still elements of the service, a lot of elements that you don't have control over. But what you do have control over is you can pop a reading in there, or pop some personalised vows, personalised readings in there, as long as they don't have that religious connotation. And like you said before, you know, I completely respect registrars and vicars and clergy, because we all have a place in the industry.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love is that when a couple walks up the aisle, they know me.
Yeah.
And for a lot
My
of
favourite
people,
bit as well. That's actually why I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Because the better you know your bride and groom, like from a photography point of view, it's just the pictures are so much better.
Yeah.
They're so at ease, you know.
That's it. They relax, and you can kind of... You ease their anxieties coming up the aisle. There's a few couples who I've married and who, you know, their weddings are to come, where they're really anxious about actually walking up the aisle, and because they're not used to being the centre of attention, they don't particularly like that. And so we look at things beforehand. We look at, okay, well, if you don't want to be the centre of attention as much as you are going to be because it's your wedding day, let's put tactics in place so that you don't feel like you're on show. We look at how the position they'll stand. We look at whether they'll sit down for it and maybe look out at all their family and friends. And a lot of my couples really like the fact they're walking up the aisle to the love of their life and heading towards a friend who's going to lead the service. And I think that's really important. You know, I got married in a church, not particularly because of religious beliefs, but because it was a church that was where I grew up. It was within walking distance of my parents' house, and I always dreamed from being younger that was where I wanted to get married.
Something you'd visualise.
Completely. And my parents are part of the church, and we had a really nice relationship with the vicar already. And she respected, my husband isn't religious at all, and she was very respectful of that fact. And we were really lucky in that we had the ceremony that worked for us, that my parents were really happy because we got married in their home church. But equally, she was very respectful of our beliefs.
Yeah.
And so again, I think it's really important. I'm not standing here saying I don't agree with getting married by a registrar. I don't agree with getting married by clergy, because I got married in a church myself.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Absolutely.
For me, that was the perfect wedding.
It's the message that I want to hammer home through all of these episodes. It's you do you. That's you've got to feel free to do whatever you want. It's your day, it's your money.
Yeah.
Most importantly, don't spend money on things that aren't to do with you.
No.
That comes down to any pound that you spend on your wedding should be something that's about you, to do with you.
Yeah.
And whilst we're there, talk to us about money. Like, how much is it for someone to get married by Full Circle Celebrations?
So at the moment, my cost for this year is £750 for a ceremony, and that includes everything. The only time I would charge anything extra is if it's a great distance. So if it's more than 25 miles,
like petrol,
we'll have a chat about petrol, and we'll come to an agreement that works for us both.
Can you break that down though? When you say everything, what does that 750 get the couple? But what are the costs of a supplier? Like, what are you putting in the background to earn that 750? Because I can't imagine you're just turning up and saying a few lovely words on the day.
No, as much as it might look like that to guests.
Because you're doing your job well.
Yeah, so for every couple, I will always offer a completely free, obligation-free video call. So we will have a video call and we'll talk about the sort of wedding they want, why they're looking at a celebrant-led service, where they're looking, and kind of talk about creating their vision and making that into a reality. And I would absolutely recommend everybody has that call with Celebrants, and have a few. Talk to 2 or 3 different.
There is a massive variety. It is a wonderful area of the industry, and I've met so many different celebrants, and you've got people who are like proper punk pink hair and want, if you want to do a shot during your ceremony, you go for it. And then you've got people who it's much more understated and beautiful and set back and quiet and everywhere in between.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. And I make it really, really clear to anyone I have a call with that there is no pressure. And there genuinely is no pressure. They don't need to feel that they've wasted my time if they don't go with me. They don't need to think, oh gosh, I feel obliged to book her because we've, had an hour's call with her. Absolutely not. It's really, really important to me that everybody finds the celebrant that fits the style of wedding they want, that works well with them, and that is going to be able to build a really good relationship with them in the lead up to their wedding. So I'll have that call, and if they then want to go ahead and book, we'll sort all the boring paperwork out. I will then give couples a little goodie box, so they have some personalised treats in there, and in that goodie box is a couple of questionnaires, which is a bit of homework for them to do, that talks me through their relationships, talks me through how they met, how they realised that they were the one for the other person. Do they do this separately? Yeah.
Okay.
And any quirks. There was a couple who I'm marrying in a couple of weeks who are incredible, and they're polar opposites in so many ways, and their questionnaire his questionnaire was really succinct, to the point, very factual.
Yeah.
And her questionnaire was so long and so detailed, and it completely summed them both up. And I found myself, I was reading his questionnaire to sort of get to the point, and then I'd go back to her questionnaire to sort of fill in the big
story.
And it completely, the way people fill in questionnaires tells me so much about them as well.
See each other's, or do you ask them to do it separately and not look at each other's, so that the ceremony is a little bit of a surprise? Or is that totally up? It's you do you.
Yeah,
to them.
It's completely up to them. I mean, I do. So I always write the ceremony, and I'll send it to the couples for them to have a look through and check. There are sometimes elements that, if they wanted a surprise element, I'll keep to a surprise.
Yeah.
And obviously their vows, I never share before the day. But yeah, most couples quite like the fact they've got that control.
Yeah.
That they'll read the ceremony, and sometimes they might come back and go, oh, we completely forgot about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You add this.
Once they've heard their love story in a ceremony, they're like, oh my God, why wouldn't have we told her about Venice?
Yeah. So they'll complete the questionnaires, and then I write their ceremony from scratch every time. And the really nice thing is, it isn't a case of filling in the gaps. I don't have a ceremony script and I kind of go, insert story here.
Yeah.
It is always from scratch, and it is always their story, completely their story.
And it's so important. Like, we talk a lot on this podcast about, you get like these tools, don't you, where you download and it says, oh, my budget for my wedding is £23,000, and then it will tell you, right, so you need to spend this amount on a DJ and this amount on your venue. Yes. And although I'm not saying those things are bad, because it can always be a starting point, but equally, for one couple, the DJ might be irrelevant, but for another couple, it might be the most important thing. So you don't want to, if it's telling you to spend £500 on a DJ, don't want to spend £500 on a DJ if for you it's the most vital thing.
Yeah.
You want a much bigger chunk of your budget on that, and then less elsewhere. Yeah. So, it is very specific to each couple, isn't it?
It is. And so once I've written the ceremony, they have complete control. I will redraft it as many times as they want. Usually it's only a couple of minor adjustments, to be totally honest. And then on the day, I'll always give them a check-in in the run-up, and we're on WhatsApp as much as they want.
Yeah.
Even if it seems like a really silly question, I'm there and we have that conversation. And then on the day, I'll get there a couple of hours early to the venue and help set up, or if they've bought some gifts for each other, I can help go and deliver those.
Yeah.
Any last minute panics or anything I can help sort out. I always sort of say on the day, think of me like an extra bridesmaid that you don't need to worry about upsetting.
Yeah.
I'm not sensitive.
Yeah.
And so then I can...
That can be crucial on a wedding morning.
Yeah. And, I've got my bag of tricks. I've got some safety pins and things if need be. And then, on the day, conduct the ceremony, and I'll be there for a bit afterwards as well to sort of help, whether it's changing the ceremony room around. So a lot of places will convert the ceremony room into the wedding breakfast room. So I'll help the venue with that. And just to try and take a little bit of stress off the couple on the day, so that they can really enjoy it. And they know someone else is there keeping an eye out for things for them. And then they get a little personalised wedding gift from me in the end as well.
Is that like secret personalised wedding gift? Are we not? Or is it because it's different for every couple? Or?
So it's each couple has something it's tailored to their wedding. So they'll get a copy of the script, and it's all personalised there and in a nice presentation box.
So within the industry, so one of the things we really want to try and boil down to on here is, so where would you say that understanding the pricing of celebrants in the industry, where would you say it kind of goes from and to in terms of price bracketing?
It's a bit of a tricky one because it does depend a little bit on area. Obviously,
Yes, of course.
London-wise, everything's more expensive.
What about this area?
But you'll find sort of newly qualified celebrants will probably come in around £500. You could pay anything up to 1,700, 2,000 for a celebrant in this area. I probably sit slightly towards the lower end, but that's because I want to make sure that it's affordable for couples, so that price isn't a barrier to somebody having a celebrant-led service. So with my cost and with doing a 2x2 ceremony at the registry office, it works out around about the same price as having a registrar to the venue.
Yeah.
I don't charge extra for bank holiday weekends. I don't charge extra for going to a new venue. I don't charge extra for the fact it's a weekend rather than a weekday, and vice versa, which you will find a lot of councils do. They can have a base price and then go.
And there is kind of a reason for that,
Absolutely.
like
it's more work.
whereas I like yourself, I would do it almost the other way around. My price is my price, but then if someone was getting married on a Thursday evening in November, then I might, be able to do something for them. But you always have to respect the couples that have come before and coming afterwards.
And I think for me, regardless of what day of the week it is or what time of day it is, I put the same amount of effort into the
Absolutely.
and in the lead up and in the delivery. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable charging more for it being on a bank holiday, because it's not extra work for me.
So what do you think is the either the physical, so that people listening can understand, what's the difference between a celebrant who is 750 like yourself and a celebrant who's 2,000? What?
Quite often it becomes a little bit about the status of the celebrant. So a celebrant who is on the upper end, sort of edging towards 2,000, is probably someone who has a really big USP. So they are a very, very particular type of celebrant that a very particular type of couple would choose. It might be, like you said earlier about the celebrant with pink hair, it might be that they are, a really bold and out there celebrant who's going to create a really big and bold ceremony for you. And they've got a very strong social media presence and they have a very strong business sense. So there's a lot that goes into creating that strong business.
So some of it will be about brand and demand. Like they're in high demand.
The demand definitely comes into it. I think probably when you're looking in the middle ground, it's down to individual pricing. For me, I try and work it out so that, because we have insurance, we've got public liability insurance, I have advertising on different platforms. I'm a member of the Association of Independent Celebrants. And so with that, I get ongoing training, so CPD, which is, for me, is really important so that I can keep up with trends, with what's happening, what's important.
It's important to remember that suppliers have costs. We're not like, when you're paying 750, that doesn't mean that you are making 750.
Oh, gosh, nowhere near it.
No. And if you actually, I always think when you're a celebrant who cares about someone's wedding, if I really broke down to an hourly rate, I think I'd be a little bit sad.
It's too depressing.
And I spend way too long editing because I care about it, and it means and I sort of think, well, I'm doing it. I'm conscious that I'm doing more than I should be doing, but I want to. So that's on me. That's nothing to do with the couple. But it is. I think it's good for couples to realise, oh, actually, when I start to think about time writing the scripts and the goodie bag and the present afterwards and the time on the day and the training and the insurance, then I start to go, actually, yeah, that feels like really good value for money.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely probably works out below minimum wage on an hourly basis. But, you know, for me, what's important is being affordable for couples, being able to give them a really, really good service. So I need to, you know, make enough that it makes it viable as a business. But the couples are at the heart of what I do.
So how would you say someone couldn't book you? You're already booked. You're not an option. What red and green flags would you want them to look out for if they're out there shopping for a celebrant?
So I would always say, have an introductory call.
Yeah.
Talk to them. You'll get a feeling during that call of whether they are the sort of person that you can bounce off, that you feel understands the vision that you want to bring to life for your wedding. Whether they, you know, for some people it's whether aesthetically they fit.
Yeah.
You know, if they are a couple who are really vibrant, they want a celebrant who is really vibrant.
Yeah.
You know, if actually they want somebody who is a little bit more of a mother figure to marry them, because that makes them feel safe and comfortable and things. So have a call with the celebrant. If any celebrant wants to charge you for that, that's a red flag. Yeah, I would.
And you mentioned earlier about maybe considering looking at whether they've been trained.
Yeah. So you can see whether they're trained, whether they're a member of any bodies. So like I said, I'm a member of the Association of Independent Celebrants, which again for me is important. It's about having that professional background and that professional input along the way. Also saying to them, you know, if there is any reason you can't come on the day, say you're really unwell or something,
what's going to happen?
What's the backup plan?
Yeah.
Every celebrant should have a backup plan.
Yeah.
I have a really fab circle of celebrants locally who I know I could call in an emergency and say, I've something's, you know, I'm really unwell or something's come up and I can't make it. Please, could you deliver the service? And again, because I've got there's a group of us, I would pick somebody who would be perfect for that couple.
So would it be possible, I'm just thinking if I was a bride, like if I've booked with you, if I said to you, well, can I have a Zoom call with your backup? Just so that, like a little chat, so I can see them and know them, so that if the worst happened, it would be like, cool, okay, I know who's coming, so that it's still not a surprise on the day.
Yeah, completely. And, you know, I do funerals as well. And for some of the celebrants I've covered funerals for them because they've been incredibly unwell on the day. And in some cases, they've dropped me a message and said, I don't feel very well. The service isn't for a couple of days, but can I kind of preempt if I'm not well enough? Could you read through the service? Could you contact the family?
Yeah.
And so we've absolutely done that before.
That's good.
I'm yet, touch wood, to have a wedding or a funeral that I've not been able to attend.
It's insurance. You need to plan for these things.
It's incredibly important that you have that, because that makes the couple feel safe and secure.
Are you seeing any like trends in the industry at the minute, or anything that is making you smile?
So
you feel warm and fuzzy?
There's really lovely. There was a big trend kind of earlier on in the year of having secret ring bearer, who probably seen
like when you sort of strapped it under the chair,
taping rings under the chairs, and you know, a surprise ring bearer. That's always really lovely. But I think I'm definitely finding more and more including people in the service. So it not being a formal, everyone feels like they've got to sit there and be quiet.
Yeah.
Service, including people in, having, doing a quiz. I did a service in the summer where we had a sort of quiz.
Had a quiz during the ceremony.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And it was brilliant. And it was just one of those things that it made all of the guests there feel like they were part of the service and part of the ceremony and the wedding, which
Which they are, or should be to a certain extent, because it is the one day where you'll have your whole world all together. So why not bring that into the ceremony and embrace it?
So definitely inclusivity, including everyone and making everyone part of that.
What do you think, what do you perceive as the future for your celebrants within the industry and for yourself?
Well, so hopefully, like I said earlier, we're working towards being able to legalise ceremonies. I think that will probably come with celebrants mandatory training, so needing to have a certain qualification. Which personally I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's really important that we go in knowing what a responsibility we have to our couples and, you know, what an important day that is. So hopefully we'll be able to legalise marriages. But I don't think that's the be-all and end-all. I don't think that not being able to legalise marriages makes it any less of a wedding.
No, not at all. I really liked your analogy about the day that you give birth and then you go and register that birth. I really like that, because that's very much how I felt. That was me getting married. That was my wedding day. And then I went and legalised that. But we actually had a hilarious moment on a honeymoon, because we'd gone to St. Lucia, and the guy where we were staying on this plantation, he was like, oh no, like don't go and legalise it in a little office at home. He was like, give me your passports. He said, I know, because it's part of the Commonwealth. St. Lucia. He said, I know them down at the council. He said, I'll go and get it. We'll legalise it on the top of the hill and the plantation at sunset tonight. We'll all have drinks. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. He said, I just need your passports. And if either of you have been divorced, your divorce absolute, like your decree absolutes. And we just sort of looked at each other, because my husband had been previously divorced. You don't pack it, do you, on your honeymoon?
Not you don't have
pop here. No, you didn't go into the house. So we had our pies and jeans back in the UK instead.
But so I think it would be really lovely if more couples knew they had that choice. So if more couples went to venues and knew that they didn't have to book a registrar at the venue in order to...
Sorry, I don't mean to... But do some venues not make that clear to them then?
There are a handful of venues who will say to couples, you must book a registrar here when you book your wedding date. They don't have to. Venues have a responsibility to make sure that couples will book a registrar.
Right.
If they're having a wedding ceremony there. But that registrar doesn't need to be at the venue on the day. Like I said earlier, they can.
Oh, okay. So you need to book that legalising element of it, whether it's on the day or afterwards.
So as part of their condition of having the licence, my understanding is that venues need to make sure couples understand they need to book that legal element. And there are a lot of venues who are fantastic about advocating for celebrant-led ceremonies. There's still a couple who are maybe a little bit scared of jeopardising a licence, or just want to be really, really feel like they're being by the book.
Yeah, absolutely, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But making sure that couples know they've got that choice. And that freedom and flexibility is really important.
And maybe as that's becoming more and more relevant, like, you know, celebrant weddings is so much more present in the industry now than it was 10 years ago. So maybe as that progresses, venues won't feel scared, because you can totally understand why you're like, well, if I'm having all celebrants and I'm not having registrars, will that look bad on me? So, you know, hopefully that's something that will evolve, because as you said, there is a place for everyone. And if you've got the money to do it, how wonderful to have the registrar and the celebrant at the same time and just do it all there.
It's good to have options, I think.
Absolutely.
Is the stress of planning your own wedding overtaking the joy of planning your own wedding? In an ideal world, we would all have a wedding planner, but that is not always possible. So what we've done is created a digital download with an extensive set of tools packaged into an effective PDF, all in one place. You have spreadsheets, budgeting tools, trackers, pie charts, so that you can follow along the journey, see where your money is going, see what has been organised and what is still to be done, helping you with all the organisational stresses. Then you have a whole set of tips for a stress-free wedding. These have come from inside intel from industry suppliers to give you help, to give you some knowledge as you go along your journey and on the day. It also has a whole set of templates. Now, these are on a Canva, a free Canva account, so there's nothing that you need to sign up for. That as you click on the links, you can handle your stationery, your invites, your save the dates, your on the day signs. You can handle hen party games. Everything can have the colours changed, the fonts changed. You can do all of that. All the hard work has been done and laid down so that you can go ahead and get creative. And as you go through this journey, if you decide that you want that little bit more help and that little bit more support, you can pay for us at the Wedding Rooms to do all the changes for you. This is something that takes all of the pressure out of planning your own wedding and is a neat little package. As a subscriber of season 1 of the Wedding Rooms on Air, you can currently get the download for £67. So either go directly to the website www.theweddingrooms.uk/buy or click the link below to get your download today.
I mean, we've touched a couple of times in saying that there has been a rise in the industry in celebrant-led weddings. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot more awareness these days. You know, social media is responsible for so much, some good, some bad. But in this case, it allows people to get a really good understanding of what options they've got out there. And, you know, if somebody starts searching for a certain type of wedding, the algorithm changes and they'll receive more posts about that. And so, and also you can see who you're looking at more. So you can get a good understanding from somebody's social media of what sort of person they are, whether they're the sort of person that you would gel with.
Which is especially important, as you've described, with your celebrant, because it's something that's so personal.
Yeah. And I think also, you know, the wedding supplier industry is fantastic and suppliers are so supportive of one another. And for example, if you say, yeah, this is definitely the photographer I want, quite often they will have a list of people they'll recommend. So if you do go to your photographer and you book your photographer before you book anything else, and they say, do you know what, I think the sort of wedding that you would like would be really great if led by a celebrant, then the couples will respect that because they respect the photographer. They know what they're talking about. And so suppliers, networks and relationships can really, really help facilitate a brilliant wedding for couples as well. So I think it's sort of a mixture of a lot of things.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been more and more movement towards celebrant-led weddings.
And do you think that there's a connection between people like having more weddings that are sort of, we talked about it a little bit earlier, like the whole, you know, you have whatever you want. Do you think that's connected to more celebrant weddings? You know, if someone's seeing on social media that, oh God, actually, I could get married jumping out of an airplane, or I could do this. Do you think that sort of is putting power back in their hands, and that's why the more people are having celebrant weddings, so that they can control the ceremony to a further extent?
Yeah, I think definitely. You know, we all love it when we have ownership of what we do, and a lot of people want their wedding to be slightly different. You know, they might say, oh, I've been to 10 weddings at this venue and they've all been the same, or Or actually, I want more time. I don't want to feel rushed. A lot of the couples that come to me will say, I don't just want to have 15 minutes and rush through. I want to be able to have a ceremony where I don't feel rushed. I don't feel like the officiant is kind of looking at their watch before they've got to go to their next ceremony. For me, I will only ever book one wedding on a day, because I think it's really important that I dedicate that day to the couples and that I'm there if they need me. So, if it's raining and it's an outdoor ceremony, but the rain's going to stop in 20 minutes, we've got that flexibility to postpone the ceremony for 20 minutes. Everyone can go and get a drink at the bar. They can bring their drinks to the ceremony. That's because, again, we've not got restrictions. Everyone can have a drink. We can have a top up halfway through.
We did a wedding together a few months ago where there was wheelbarrows full of drinks.
It was incredible.
being had during the ceremony, but they needed them as well. It was so hot.
Oh my goodness, it was an incredible wedding, but we were sort of sold that it was in a woodland enclosure, and I looked at the weather forecast and it said it was going to be breezy. I thought, brilliant, and there was no breeze, was there?
No.
It was, by the end of the ceremony, we had half of the guests were sort of in the woodland seeking out shade. But again, that didn't matter.
No, because that's what suited them.
Yeah.
And are you seeing a rise in that of people having more alternative and less traditional weddings?
Absolutely. People are choosing to have weddings. So this one we did was sort of a whole festival weekend, and it was fantastic. And it was so perfect for that couple and their family.
They didn't make a single decision with that wedding that wasn't true to them. And that's really what I love to see, and what I'd encourage any couple to just constantly come back to when they're spending their money. Is it us?
Yeah.
Us, or is it like getting lost on Pinterest and what I feel like I should have?
Yeah.
Is it something that's us and we should have, sort of thing?
I've got a wedding where we're having the ceremony at a village hall for a couple.
Yeah.
And they are the most wonderful couple and the most wonderful family. And when I asked them sort of what do they want from the future, they just kind of said, well, more of what we've already got.
Oh, that's lovely.
And their day isn't about making grand choices and grand gestures. It's about celebrating them, celebrating their family, celebrating everyone coming together. And it's in a place that's special to them. It's in their village. And I just think, how incredible is that they can have a day that is completely about them, that they don't have any rules in place.
No.
There's not time pressure. There's not anything other than what they want.
And that, I mean, that is the ultimate key to it all. And do you know what? We could guess about this all day, I believe, but we are out of time. I know it's been so lovely to have you in. Did you want to just finish by telling anyone who's listening how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, if you just search for Full Circle Celebrations. I've got my email as well, which is just iona@fullcirclecelebrations.co.uk. And I've got my website as well. So if you search for Full Circle Celebrations, Northamptonshire,
it'll all
pop up. Yeah.
It's been really lovely chatting to you.
Thank
you. And we'll no doubt see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. This podcast is brought to you by myself, Megan, from The Wedding Rooms, and Adam Rust of Influence Productions. You can find out more about us in the bio or on the links below. But to sum it up, we are basically a wedding photographer and wedding videographer who enjoyed being their right-hand man and woman to their couples to such an extent that we've decided to go away and make a podcast for them. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for making us part of your journey. And we hope to see you on the next episode.